Hello. So this is going to seem like a very weird talk to be doing at MadFest, but I promise there's some lessons to be learned within this, because Kylie Cosmetics has been a brand I have been fascinated by for years. And largely it's because it teaches us so many lessons for any brand communicating on social media today. Whether you are a social-first brand or a brand on social, there are a lot of lessons to learn from the era of King Kylie. So to kick off, I'm going to take you back to the year 2015. Kylie lip kits have just launched. The Kardashian-Jenners have broken the internet yet again. And I think what is really interesting about this is if you think about the fact that Kylie Jenner launched lip kits and sold them out in 10 minutes, so as quickly as Glastonbury tickets, she managed to sell lip stains and lip liners. That is insane. And I think the interesting thing around that is thinking about the context in which she was operating in and how she actually managed to do this. Because she very much launched this brand using her mass social media following, using her celebrity status, but also very much a social-first approach, talent-led. And I would argue this not only launched the King Kylie era, but it also very much launched influencer marketing as we know it today. Because if you think about the context that we were operating in at the time, this was actually really revolutionary. This was a very innovative approach to launching and building a brand. Because 2015 was a very simple time on social. Teenagers were on Facebook at the time. It was the year Facebook launched Reaction, so that was the thing getting us all excited in the world of social. Vine still existed, TikTok did not. Instagram was still new, stories were not a thing, and Tumblr was being used unironically. So social was a very, very simple time. Whereas this is the kind of content that we were going crazy after. This is the stuff you were sharing with your friends. There was no brands, there was no ads, there was no influencers. This is what social was like at the time. So to have someone promoting a brand, launching a brand, selling products like this, which we look at it through today's lens, and we're like, yeah, that's pretty standard. This was iconic at the time. This was revolutionary, and it really created this whole new playbook of marketing as we know it today on social media. But I think this is also kind of where the story really starts to come in. The danger of being number one is high, because there's only one place to go, and that place is down. And when you are a pioneer and when you are innovative and innovating, you have to continue doing that as times progress, as culture moves, as people change and mindsets change. And unfortunately, there's a lot to be learned with how Kylie managed to do it, because she kind of did what a lot of market leaders do. She sat on her laurels, she got complacent, and she just kind of started following the same playbook year after year. It's been 9 years now of Kylie Cosmetics, and she has not changed or innovated the way she markets her company at all. And you can start to see the results. So this shows the e-commerce net sales of KylieCosmetics.com between 2017 and 2024. And I would say it kind of speaks for itself. Those sales are tanking. There is now speculation that her business is about to go bankrupt. So it really does show that there is something fundamentally wrong with this brand and with this business. And it's really important to look at this in the context of a wider category. So the beauty category in 2023 last year in the US experienced 11% year-on-year growth. The celebrity beauty brand category grew nearly 58%. So it's not to say that people don't care about celebrity beauty brands anymore. What you can see in this data is that people don't care about her brand anymore. And again, you start to further see that when you look at her share of search versus other top celebrity beauty brands such as Fenty, Rhode, and Rare Beauty. You can see Kylie really kicked off the moment in the blue there. The second Fenty launched in 2017, Kylie Cosmetics drops off a cliff for searches. You can see Rare Beauty starting to pick up momentum in recent years, but Kylie is on a consistent downhill spiral. So I think the question we're all kind of asking is, what the fuck happened? Because she was the moment. She was the zeitgeist. She was it. She was on the cover of Forbes for being the world's youngest billionaire. She had built a beauty empire. So what went wrong? And I think this is where the lesson comes in really importantly, no matter what brand you work for, no matter who your clients are, no matter what category you're in. If you walk away from this talk remembering one thing, I want you to remember this. If the Kardashian-Jenners cannot rise above the principles of brand building as laid out in the long and short of it, neither can you, neither can your brand. Do not forget this stuff. We learn these things for a reason. They are called fundamentals for a reason. They have been around for decades for a reason. And I know this is a chart we've all probably seen a million times, so I won't dwell on it, but essentially what it lays out is that in order to sustainably grow a brand long-term over time, you need to balance brand building with sales activation. And what the long and short of it found was to effectively build a brand over the long term, you need to do it through emotional storytelling. To tell an emotional story, you need a story to tell. Don't know why I'm not a rocket scientist. To have a story to tell, you need to build a brand on the fundamentals of a reason for being. What is your why? What is your vision? What is your mission? What are your values? Why do you exist? Why do I care? And I think this is, again, where the Kylie story gets really interesting. So when you start to dig into her brand, what are the foundations that she really built this brand on that has gotten her to where she is today? So starting with her distinctive assets, we all know that is a big part of brand building. We've got Kylie. We've got Kylie's name. We've got Kylie's lips. Cool. So we'll dig a bit deeper. There might be more to tell. You go on her website, the reason why, her why. I created Kylie Cosmetics to give my fans access to the makeup products that I love and use every single day to create my looks. Right. So what I'm getting from that is I created a makeup brand to help you look like me. Fine. But if I was her strategist, the question I would be asking her is that deep enough to sustain you long term? Is that broad enough to help you move with culture, move with mindsets, move with changing consumer behaviors around beauty? Is this going to work for you long term? But that's where she is. And when you look at her content, I'll give her credit. She is very on brand at all times. All of her content is her name, is her lips, it's distinctive. It's definitely Kylie Cosmetics. But she has nowhere to go beyond just, look at me being pretty, don't you want to look like me? Which is fine, but I think mindsets towards beauty have changed so much in the last 9 years that this isn't necessarily aspirational anymore. And that kind of is where she's starting to really pigeonhole herself with how she has built her brand and her brand story. Whereas if you look at a competitor, Rhode by Hailey Bieber, this brand is about simplifying many of the mysteries and complex narratives behind efficacious skincare. So that in itself is already way deeper, and it gives you so much more to hang on to. And again, when you look at her content, you see this coming through loud and clear. She has reels that talk about simple skincare routines, the products to use, how to use them. She has content about the ingredients used in her products, why you should use them, where they come from, why they're effective. She gives you access to experts like dermatologists that answer frequently asked questions about beauty. But then also, her core value for this company is the consumer always comes first. So when she's hearing things like, people tend to lose my lip balms before they finish it, she goes and creates a phone case where you can stick your lip balm in it. Yes, that was a big marketing moment, and that was a big moment for her brand, but that is her being able to innovate off of a deep platform that actually means something to people and has a brand that stands for something. So she can continue to move long-term and continue to grow and innovate. Rare Beauty is another really great example of this. It's all about breaking down the unrealistic standards of perfection. And again, this comes through loud and clear. So you have Selena, you have her friends, you have Taylor Swift, you have the products, but what you really see also coming through loud and clear in her comms is the interplay between beauty and mental health, because that is what everything the brand is built on is about. And this is what she talks about, and she's able to do that authentically. It's allowed her to tap into some really interesting partnerships, some unexpected partnerships. So she has a story that she can keep innovating on time after time and building a brand in the long term. And Fenty, the GOAT. This one was initially all about putting every tone on the map. And you look at this, and you don't even need to have a logo to know that's Fenty. That image on the left is my favorite. You can barely see the logo, but you know that's Fenty just purely because of how many shades are being represented in that makeup. And again, her platform of inclusivity, diversity, representation gives her so much to work off of as she progresses and continues. And now she's into range extensions. She's gone into hair care because there's as much representation to be seen in hair types as there was in tones or skincare. So again, you put these three brands side by side, and each one of them is operating in a completely different white space. Each one of them is telling a different story. Every single one is sharing a different message that you as an individual consumer cares about and wants to be part of. I, as a human being, can buy a product from every single one of these companies and feel like I am tapping into a different passion point, different interest, a different topic that means something to me, and that will keep me coming back for more over and over again. Whereas you have Kylie Cosmetics, which has been built on the likeness of an individual who has really built a persona around unattainable levels of beauty, but also building this level of aspiration that can only take her so far. She has nowhere to go the moment she, as a person, drops off. Then it's just her brand talking about someone that people don't care about anymore, and she can't pivot to move with culture to become and stay relevant. And I think this is a problem we see with a lot of brands, is how do we maintain our cultural relevance? And my question to you fundamentally is, what is your story, and how does that allow you to continue to pivot with culture? So to kind of summarize, I have 3 key lessons for anyone sitting here today. And these are kind of, I would say for me, the fundamentals of brand building on social. The first one is establish your distinctive character and be it like hell. This is a quote I learned very early in my career that has really stuck with me, and I apply this to any brand I work on now. And that is, know who you are and be it like hell. And if a brand cannot tell me succinctly who they are and why they exist, then they have a fundamental strategic problem there. And so my first piece of advice and my first learning is, know who your brand is, know why you exist, and be it like hell, and be ruthlessly consistent with it. But the second is also being really, acknowledging the reality of the short form spaces that we're now operating in, especially when it comes to social. So here I would really encourage you to think about, what are your brand assets and what are your distinctive characteristics that you're willing and able to fix and flex for the short form environments? So at your minimal viable level of recognition as a brand, how much can you get away with to just show up authentically to channels that really require specificity at this point? And thirdly, and I would say this is probably the one that gets me the most heated, use the power of people to humanize your brand online. Because I would say, and I find this insane, our phones are probably one of the most private and personal spaces we have. You are on your phone and you are on social media when you're in bed, when you're at home, when you're feeling sad, whatever, happy, whatever. So when a brand is coming in and talking at you, how dare you walk into my living room and just talk at me and say nothing? Talk to me like I'm a real person. Don't talk to me like I'm a cash guzzling machine. I have feelings. I want to be entertained. I want to learn. Talk to me like a real person. So how can you humanize your brand? Use your founders, use creators, use influencers. Establish a tone of voice for your brand on social. Use a mascot. If I am willing and happy to allow Ryanair to come into my living room and make me laugh every day, any brand here can create a tone of voice to speak to your consumers and your fans like a real person. It's social. It's not broadcast. Don't talk at people. Talk to people. So with that, I thank you. And Kris Jenner, if you're out there.